Joining me in studio is Dr. Michael Theiren, the Special Representative to Israel from the World Health Organization and the Special Advisor to the W.H.O. Regional Director for Europe on COVID-19. And Dr. Theiren, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you, is there some potential good news about the vaccine effectiveness against Omicron, or is it really too early?
It is very early. It is very early. It's very important that we accept that a virus mutates routinely. This is still the same virus. It's a different variant, but it's the same virus. It's still SARS-CoV-2. It's the same pandemic, but this virus presents several mutations that needs to be looked at because of their configuration, and it's very important to see, so as part of we do that for all the variants, to see if the this variant transmits more, if it affects people more aggressively, and if it presents some escape against the vaccines or against a reinfection. So it's important that we take the time to look into this, and I'm afraid we don't have a clear answer tonight on those burning questions.
Well, we do have one clear answer, that this variant, again, underscores the importance of getting more people vaccinated. Some countries in Europe now are looking at laws making it mandatory to get vaccinated, or fines punish those that don't. That discussion has sort of begun in Israel now. Does the WHO take any position on laws, regulations that make it mandatory for some parts of the population to get vaccinated?
Those are national decisions. It's within a legal context. It's very important that the debate exists in a country with all the discipline involved, ethics, law, epidemiology, public health. There is something we need to understand here, is that mandatory vaccination is nothing new. It has happened in the history, but that was much more for vaccines that have an elimination or an eradication purpose. Smallpox, measles, polio. Here we talk about vaccines whose purpose is to save life. So therefore, it's a little bit different, and we need to assess the gain of pushing people into mandatory vaccination. It's something that we really need to think very, very carefully. So the debate is open. It's healthy to talk about this, but WHO is not advising that at this stage.
Right, and also may be difficult because at this stage it may involve multiple shots and booster shots, so make it perhaps more complicated. Let's talk about another measure that some see as controversial: travel bans. South Africa publicly complaining against the ban being placed against its citizens. Here in Israel, borders closed completely. Not everybody is happy with that decision.
Well, closing border when we have already evidence that the virus is appearing in 3 or 4 continents, it's a bit late of a measure. But there is a reason some countries do that. Is what we call the principle of precaution, just to reassess and to take some time to get more ready, to get prepared. But the impact on virus circulation will be minimal. The question of selectively closing border has been resolved in Israel, because the border has been closed for everyone. And that, I believe, and I know it was really to take stand on getting a bit more knowledge on the virus and getting more prepared. Right. On what to do. Israel is also a particular case. You enter through Ben Gurion Airport, and so in many countries that's not the same situation. So there is a capacity to control the port of entry in Israel much easier than others. So I think the actions is to take stock, to reassess, to look at what we can do. This is the principle of precaution. I think it's a couple of weeks that has been enforced, and that's the logic behind this. This is not to punish any countries. This is not to segregate countries out. It's very unfortunate that some travels will not happen, especially in this time of the year. Right. But I think there are reasons here that the authorities have.
And lastly, there's getting people vaccinated, and then there's having enough vaccine to go around. WHO has criticized development developed nations that have not shared more of their vaccine, especially those like Israel that started to administer booster shots rather than perhaps donating some of that vaccine to countries like in Africa that need more of it. Your view on that, especially now with the Omicron variant?
Yeah, Israel does what it needs to do responsibly for its citizens, like most of the countries. But I don't think that one excludes the other. Israel and other countries are donating vaccines. Vaccines are circulating. Vaccines are being shared. Maybe not the volume yet we hoped, but it's not because we engage on a booster program that we take vaccines away from other people in other countries. There is a differentials, there is inequalities, but we should not put equal rollout all over the world as a precondition to start. They are front runners. Israel is a front runner in the rollout of vaccines. They have also accumulated a wealth of experience on what works, what doesn't, and that is also very useful for low-income countries.
Right, and Israel is donating its supply of the AstraZeneca vaccine to less developed nations and is to be commended for that. Dr. Michel Theiren of the World Health Organization, thanks for joining us.